pieces. Oh, actually, there's two more on either side. You have these removable slots here for all your loose materials, hardware, that sort of stuff. Pile it all in here. Slide it back in, lock it in place. There's another one just like this on the other side as well. So you got two spots to put all your loose hardware. Right? That way the guys up top aren't having to reach down to the floor to grab it. Right? So now we're fully supported. Our stand is down in the bottom. This is exactly how the machine will be during normal operations. Right, so for most crews, they have 1, 2, maybe 3 guys who specialize in setup and breakdown. Once the machine is set up here, up against the structure, in this case the side of the building, we're nice and level, stand is down, you can run this thing up and down all day long. I mean, we've had these things set up on job sites for months at a time without having to take it down. So at this point, all you got to do is run this control here. As you can see, you have a little picture up top here. So this side down is arrow pointing up. So this side down is carriage up. Right side down is carriage down. And that's it. This is the only control you'll have to use from here on out until it's time to break the machine down and move it somewhere else. And normally, if the battery wasn't dead, you'd have a start button here. So your guy, all you gotta do is holler down. All right, they're ready up top, we're ready down below, we're loaded up. Push to start, send it up. In this case, the battery's dead, so all we gotta do, we gotta give it a full start. But still, they're ready up top for it. Send it right up. I'm gonna stop there. Now, notice how you can feather this thing, right? No problem. Notice how I'm still holding it. The winch that controls that cable, there's a slack device in there. It's not going to unspool when it goes slack. You can hold this here all day long. Nothing's gonna happen, no big deal. Same thing on the way up. I'm not doing it because I don't want to damage the gutter here on the side of the building, but same deal. If I bottom this thing out, it'll go as fast as it can. I think it's about 150 feet a minute, so it moves pretty quick. It'll reach the top. I can hold it here all day long. Right? There's hydraulic valve overrides in that winch, so it's not gonna pull so hard it's gonna break something. Right? So I can hold this here all day long, even after it reaches the top, no big deal. The machine's not going to hurt itself in that aspect. All right.
So basically, what you're saying, if we have a full rack and the guy's up and they're not paying attention, it's not going to go over. It's not going to.
No, exactly right. It'll reach the end of the rails. You know, it'll hit the end of the rails with somewhat force. You want to make sure your guys up top got their fingers out of the way, of course, right? You never want to be hoisting this up if somebody at the top is not ready for it. That's just part of the communication between operator and loader and unloader up top. It's very important those two guys are in communication. Because yeah, if they're standing there on the edge of a rail waiting to receive this thing and he's got his hand there and he's chit-chatting with somebody else, this thing moves quick, 157 feet a minute. It's pretty quick. And it will reach the top of the rails with a bit of force. So you want to make sure that they're always ready for it up top. And obviously same thing goes in the bottom. Now, of course, the operator is standing right here. He's going to make sure nobody's standing in the drop zone here, right? One would think. But same thing. This thing comes down with quite a bit of speed. You want to make sure that zone is completely free, and the top is completely free as well. So those guys should always be in communication, top and bottom, right? So that's it. That's all the controls for setup and operation. Breakdown. We're going to run through it here, of course. Is everything in reverse. So the very last thing that I did was bring this kickstand piece down. And that's the very first thing I'm gonna do during breakdown. Because now if I try to change the angle of the machine, that's gonna dig into the ground, throw me out of level, right? So setup and breakdown, the only thing touching the ground is the outriggers. So first thing, bring that up. So let's go ahead and do that. So of course, I'm gonna bring my carriage up a little ways. we go. And now I'm taking it off the building, so I gotta bottom this out, right? Anytime we're using those controls, it's just gotta be all the way down. So, hold that there, bottom out those hydraulics. All right, kickstand is up, platform's bottomed out. Now I'm ready to use these controls. So first thing I like to do when I'm breaking down the machine is just tip the machine away from the building or the structure or wherever I'm on. Now, if you got those wheels up and over, you know, a pipe, let's say you're working on scaffolding, you may have to extend the rails a little bit to then bring it away from the structure or away from your scaffolding, right? A lot of times what we'll do, we do a lot of scaffolding work with stonemasons, and we'll hook those wheels right over the edge, right? But that, if I stood it back up, the wheels are gonna catch. So you may have to go extend out a little bit first, depending on what you're leaning up against. Here, we're on the side of a flat building, so I can go straight to lean, bring the machine away from the building, and then I'm gonna retract my rails. Again, I mentioned the safety mechanism. I may have to shoot the rails out just a touch to release that safety brake before I can push it down. So sometimes you gotta go out a little bit before you come down, right? So, first thing I'm doing here is using this control to lean the machine away from the building. There we go. As you can see, our wheels are off the side of the building. Now we're free floating here, and I'm ready to bring the rails back in. So, because this is tight, I gotta shoot the rails out just a touch to relieve this pressure. There we go. Now this is free. Now I can bring them in. Always bottom out those hydraulics. Hold it for 2 extra seconds. And we're good to go. We're stowed. We're ready to rotate back to center and put it back down in the cradle. So, I'm gonna release this pin here, and I'm gonna find my arrow on the other side. So coming over here, you can see there's a little gap. I see that arrow. That tells me I'm back in line with the cradle. I'm ready to lay the machine down. See the arrow right through that gap there? Exactly. And there's one over here too. Right? So that's 90 degrees. That's back to 0. All right? All right, we'll get there. We're locked in. We can lay her down. Now, one thing I want to mention for instructional purposes here. So let's say we're done with this machine. It's going off the job site. It's ready to be towed, you know, down the highway. This platform here, there's nothing stopping it from sliding up right now. So if you're driving down the road and you have it like this, and you have to slam on the brakes, this thing can slide forward. Now we have this piece right here to prevent against that. This is only ever used when you're actually transporting the machine down the road, right? Moving around the job site, let's say you're at a refinery or something like that, and you're not going more than 15 miles an hour, no big deal. You can move it around like this. But for highway and road transportation, you always want to use this cable. What this does is attaches the bottom of the platform to the bottom of the rails. We'll show you here in just a second. I'm gonna need the carriage controls here. This prevents the carriage from sliding forward if you had to slam on the brakes or something, right? Can one of you guys please pull the cord for me and turn the motor on? So what I'm gonna do, and I'm doing this now while the rails are still up in the air, just because it's easier for me to get to. I could do it with the rail laying down, it's a little harder to get to. So we're done with the machine. We're gonna transport it. I'm gonna raise this up a little bit. Notice here, you have a hook on the bottom and you have one up here on the bottom of the carriage. And we're gonna connect the two. So we're on there, we're on here. What I like to do is just hold this like this, and I'm gonna do carriage up controls until this is nice and tight. I'm gonna go real slow with it. I don't have to bottom this out. If I do just a touch, it'll move real slow. See how slow it'll go? And I'm gonna bottom that out. See how it pulls the rails together a little bit? I can hold this here all day long. Make sure everything's nice and tight. All right. Now, my rail package is completely locked together. All these cables are nice and tight. Nothing's gonna go slack on me, right? The cable's preventing it from coming down. This cable's preventing this from sliding forward. We're now ready to transport this thing anywhere we need to. Everything's nice and tight. No slack in any of these cables. We're good for transport. So what I'm gonna do now is just finish laying it down in the cradle. We can take the outriggers up and stow everything away. All right? Also, notice this comes apart here.